Hi there, I'm Brian Whitmore, Director of the Russia program here at SIPA, and this is a vertical video. The attitude of Vladimir Putin's regime toward globalization is, to say the least, ambivalent. On the one hand, the Kremlin's eager to use it as a weapon against the West, whether through cyber attacks, election meddling, disinformation, or corrosive capital and weaponized corruption. But on the other hand, the Putin regime is absolutely obsessive about insulating itself from what it sees as the dangers of foreign influence and global interdependence. And perhaps nowhere is this ambivalence more evident than in its approach to the internet and to tech. Earlier this month, Putin signed a law requiring all foreign smartphones and devices sold in Russia to pre-install Russian applications. And oh, by the way, Russian apps are notorious for being very curious about their users' data and very generous about sharing that data with the Russian security services. And last month, under pressure from the authorities, the Russian tech giant Yandex changed its corporate governance to grant the Kremlin a greater say in its operations. That move came as the State Duma was considering legislation, since withdrawn, that would have limited foreign ownership in Russian internet companies to 20%. But if at home the Kremlin is concerned with keeping foreign influence at bay and harnessing tech as a tool of the surveillance state, abroad it appears to be using it as a fine-tuned weapon that takes advantage of the West's openness. Last year, for example, Lithuania's defense ministry strongly urged consumers, and especially public servants, not to install the popular Russian Yandex taxi app because they suspected it may be unlawfully collecting user data and sending it to Moscow. And this year's annual report from Lithuania's National Cybersecurity Center warned about privacy and security threats not only from Yandex, but also from the popular Russian-made application FaceApp. Well, back in 2014, Putin famously and inaccurately said that the internet was, quote, a CIA project. Now, he may or may not actually believe that, but what is clear is that he is now trying to turn it into a weapons project for the FSB and for the GRU. And the only reason his regime is able to do so is because it has access to Western markets and Western technology. So isn't it time we cut them off? Keep telling us what you think on Twitter and on Facebook. I'm Brian Whitmore, and this was a vertical video.